Okay, Brownies, here we go. I hope your heart rates have recovered after a nice bye week. I hope you enjoyed things, but let's get back to work. Let's get back to business. Let's talk some Browns, the rumors, the conspiracies, the drama that's building right now in the entire environment. Twitter is imploding each and every day as more uncertainty mounts over this team. So this is going to be a bit more of a freestyle than the other videos. Obviously there wasn't a game this weekend, so there's not going to be little clips and whatnot, but expect more of the better produced things next week following the San Francisco game. First off, let's talk about the fan response to everything that's been going on with the Deshaun Watson injury. So he hasn't practiced this week. It's looking like PJ Walker is going to get the start on Sunday. I see a lot of fans saying they owe us. They need to be able to tell us. They put us through so much hell. We need to understand what's going on. We need to know the state of the quarterback. What's wrong with this franchise? Why would we tip off all of our opponents about the current state and health of the quarterback on this team? Why would we do that? It's absolutely nonsensical for fans to feel like they're owed to know what's going on behind the curtain. How about Bill Belichick? 20 years in New England. Who ever saw behind the curtain? No one. Why? Because fans and the press overreact when they're given anything. As soon as we heard Stefanski come out and say, yeah, he was medically cleared, but it was his decision not to go, all the speculation came out that, oh, he was not tough enough. Now there's a rift between Stefanski and Deshaun Watson, which is just, God, it's nonsensical. It is better for us to not understand what is going on. We want to know, but if we know, then the press knows. Mary Kay Cabot, all those people will try and sow division, get their clickbait headlines going on to try and create tension in the locker room. The fan base starts to just interpret everything as Watson's soft, Stefanski should be fired, we should have kept Baker, all these things. Once again, this team is 2-2. And this is going to be a unbelievably difficult task. San Francisco is the best team in the league. I had them as my preseason pick as the team winning the Super Bowl. I think most people would have had them or Philly or the Chiefs, those three. So it's not like a breaking hot take, but this is just a great team. We understand what's going on. Great O-line, great D-line, great running back, and a solid quarterback. Regarding the Stefanski and Andrew Berry, people being so upset last week that Berry saying, hey, lean into the process, and people being like, you don't know what I've gone through as a Browns fan. It's been 60 years of leaning into the process. A lot of teams could say that. A lot of fan bases could say that. Stop with the victim mentality. And I understand it's frustrating. I never want this to come off as I'm the most level-headed person. When I'm alone watching in the comfort of my own home, I am losing my mind. I'm freaking out. I'm questioning, why did we call this play? Why did we do that? What's going on with Jed Wills? Which everyone feels that about Jed Wills. You just have to put your blind faith, as stupid as this sounds, in the organization and the head coach and the owner and the GM. If it doesn't work out, there will be a change at the end of the season. But just to keep saying like we're owed answers, we're owed results, the way people reacted to Andrew Berry saying you just need to lean into the process and enjoy it, it's like fans are so upset that they come with this perspective like we should be undefeated and have the Super Bowl in week 5. Like that is the mentality that they're giving off when they're freaking out about Andrew Berry saying that. What do you want him to say? Guys, we should really be worried right now. Our starting quarterback, who we gave $230 million guaranteed, is injured, and we're just not really sure. And maybe there's a rift in the locker room, and maybe we should have kept Baker. And honestly, I'm not really sure about our left tackle position. I don't know if we'll be able to get Garrett Bolt. It's like, what do you want him to say? They are doing their job, and the fact that they're not emotionally panicking is a sign of maturity within the organization, and they're dealing with an impulsive firecracker running and gunning owner. Like Berry and Stefanski are the facade of organization and maturity that is needed in the front office and on the field. So just to say that, like, let's get to week 10 before we really start taking hard lines about the state of the organization and everything in between. Because again, we're going into this game without Deshaun Watson. It is going to be a really rough game, and unless the defense is just lights out and shuts this team down completely, we're probably going 2-3. And again, that's fine. But if the Bengals win, if they beat the Seahawks, we drop to number 4 in the standings. It is going to be pandemonium, even though in the grand scheme of things, you're 2 games back from first place still. So you just have to keep these things in mind and in perspective and just believe that it's going to be okay. Let's go to the DTR situation from last week and kind of through this week as more has developed since then. Mary Kay Cabot posted a video on Twitter where DTR came out and said, yeah, I really didn't know I was starting until 10:30 a.m. that day. And this is what I've been feeling on that, especially since I saw that video. You took the starting first team reps all week. So you had to have had an inkling that you were going to start, which I'm sure he did. But what we saw out there was just complete deer in headlights. And honestly, what I think happened is DTR got comfortable after winning the QB2 spot. He wasn't diving in and treating it as if there was a chance he was going to play at all throughout the year. And this is just my speculation from the outside. I'm not trying to say that this is fact or anything, but being someone who's played football and has been thrusted into, going from a second string or a third string spot to a first string spot in university, it can come very suddenly. And if you haven't been working with the mentality that it's a possibility you could get onto the field, you could just be so frightened. Even though you might have the ability to be able to succeed, which DTR clearly does, he has the ability to make the throws that he was missing in this game. Mentally, he just wasn't there, and it shouldn't come down to, I need so much time to prepare for my first start. You don't know when it's going to happen. It's like Tom Brady. Drew Bledsoe gets his head knocked off. He gets his chance and he says, okay, you're never taking me off the field. That was DTR's chance there to really do it, but he obviously wasn't doing enough off the field in the meeting room after practice to be fighting for that number 1 spot, because that is what you have to do to be a great backup. You have to be treating it like you're trying to become QB1. And I think he was just content to be QB2, be Deshaun Watson's buddy, do the little bit, take your couple 25% of the reps in practice, and then go home and hang out and enjoy your rookie contract and do whatever a rookie NFL player does. And the reason why I feel what happened is because they've immediately brought in PJ Walker to be the starter if Deshaun Watson is not starting anymore. And the coaching staff wouldn't do that if they didn't think that, okay, it was just, a bright lights moment. It was a hard thing to come out and compete in. They're looking at DTR saying, okay, you haven't done enough since we awarded you this QB2 spot, and there was no way of us really knowing until it went out and it was time to execute that you weren't doing those things. So now you got to sit behind PJ Walker, and we're just going to trust PJ Walker to go in and execute. Maybe it could also be a thing where we're saying, okay, DTR, we don't want to completely wreck your confidence because we do believe in your future, and we don't want your first 2 games to be the Ravens and the 49ers. So that could be something as well. But just in general, watching back that game, DTR he was missing so much open stuff throughout that game. Big chunk plays that he could have hit, but he just wasn't locked in. And just to finally say again on that point, I think a lot of that comes from him not treating the QB2 job seriously enough and not competing to be a QB1, just being too content to have your money, sit behind your guy and say, hey, he's going to have to handle everything. So that's where I am at that. So finally, let's talk about the Deshaun Watson injury. What it sounds like is the minimal time of recovery from this injury is 3 weeks to 8 weeks. Somewhere in between that window will probably be when Watson returns. And I think that the miscommunication of him saying, I'm going to play, was just his competitive nature coming out, because that's the kind of guy he is. He doesn't want to collect his money and just sit on the sideline and continue being a public joke for the rest of his career. He wants to resurrect everything in Cleveland. That is why he's here. And again, we're not going to keep harping on he's tough. He played with a torn ACL. He's played with broken ribs. Enough about that. We know he's tough and he's a competitor, but we need to understand the reason why he got hurt is because he's a tough player. He was running a QB power in the red zone and blew up a safety, lowered his shoulder into him. That's what started it. Him saying he's going to play on Sunday. Yes, I'm going to play, I'm going to play, I'm going to play. It's because he has higher expectations for himself than maybe his body is capable of producing and fulfilling on those promises. He wanted to play, and then unfortunately he couldn't. And he's not talking to the press, he's not talking to the media now because he's focusing on doing that. And he doesn't want to just keep fueling the media storylines with this ambiguity of, is it a pain tolerance thing? Is it an actual injury? Do we let the press and the public and our opponents know, oh, like if you hit this shoulder hard enough or rip it out, then he's going to be done for the season? Like, they don't want to give that information out. So yes, it is better that he doesn't talk to the media. It is better that the coaching staff in the front office doesn't give out this information. I think he's going to be out for a couple weeks. I think maybe the San Fran game and then the game after that. Then the week after that, I think he could be back 100% and he'll be ready to roll. And maybe there will be some rust again. He'll have to fight through and have some dirty games to be able to get back to the point that he was at against the Titans. But it is the right thing to do for the long term of the season. This division is still within our grasp. If we lose against San Francisco, that's the thing what we have to keep in mind. Like, as I mentioned before, Browns fans want to be undefeated and have the Super Bowl in week 5. They don't give out the awards then. They don't give out the championship before you've gone through the playoffs and played the championship game. And this is my final piece on trying to dunk on Browns fans. It's like all of these people so publicly talking about how someone needs to be more tough, how someone needs to communicate more, all of these things. You would all be horrible GMs and even worse players and coaches, because everything that comes out of your mouth is a snap reaction towards what you want. As like a little kid being like, I want a championship. I want to win games. I want to be undefeated. I want my quarterback to play perfectly. I want my coach to call a perfect game. I want my GM to make every trade that I want and just completely disregard the salary cap. It doesn't work that way. And I know if you're watching this video, you're not one of those people, unless you light up the comments and prove otherwise. But just to say, let's have a long-term perspective on things and let's make our final judgments once the season's over, or at, week 10, week 11, week 12. But even then, there's still games to be won to change everything. And, we're in week 6 of a 17-week season. And the real battle is going to start in 2 to 3 weeks when Watson's back, because PJ Walker isn't winning us a championship and neither is DTR. So that being said, a lot to look forward to. I'm still very excited for this 49ers game, because as long as we can string together a couple first downs and keep San Fran off the field, I think the defense will have another great performance. And it's just going to be fun in general to watch Brock Purdy go up against this defense, because I think the Dallas game, they really shredded Dallas, but I don't think their defense is as complete as Cleveland's, just in terms of what the interior D-line can do with that rotation when everyone's there. Shelby Harris, Dalvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst. I don't think their linebackers are as dynamic as a JOK, and I'm not including Micah Parsons in that. I'm considering Micah Parsons more of like that flex linebacker DN type thing. And he's, I think, more dynamic than Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett doesn't have to be asked to do as much because the defense is more supportive and more complete again, and just healthier at this point, So just as a football fan in general, I think that's going to be really fun to see Purdy in this offense versus the Browns defense. So try and enjoy it from that perspective and just say, hey man, if everything clicks, if Watson comes back and he turns out to be everything we ever wanted him to be, and these two teams meet in the Super Bowl, is a good first look. And I think that would give us, in terms of long-term optimism, that would give Cleveland a leg up to say, hey, we played you when you were at your full strength. We didn't even have our guy, and the outcome was whatever it'll be. I think they can take that and run with it, and that's a good thing to build off of. So the final thing we'll touch on is just the state of the run game and this offensive line. So it's looking like Bitonio might not play as well, so I guess Weipler's going to get the call up from the practice squad, and he might be playing guard, or maybe they'll put Nick Harris there. I'm not really sure what it's going to be, but just to say, the health of this O-line is a major question, and then we all know about Jed Wills at the left tackle spot. That is something we have to make a move. have to make a move before the trade deadline to get Garrett Bowles. Again, get anyone over Wills, unless somehow he meets the ghosts of Christmas past and they're telling him, hey, this is what you're going to lose out on, and he sees what his future is going to look like, because I don't think he's getting signed again to another NFL roster that isn't like as a third stringer. If he keeps putting this tape out and this effort out, it's like this guy's the Chase Claypool of offensive linemen. Unless he has some awakening moment where he says, I'm going to give effort on every single play, it's just not good enough. And we need to address this, because these Band-Aid fix solutions that Cleveland comes up with just keep biting us. And this is my one major criticism of Stefanski and Andrew Berry. I think collectively they are a net positive. They've given us the best 4-year stretch, even though it hasn't been great. It's only been one playoff appearance and one playoff win. They've been the best, most professional and effective head coach GM combo that there has been in Cleveland since they returned in 99, honestly. But the biggest problem with them is that they make these small solutions. It took way too long to move off of Cade York. It's taken way too long to move off of Jed Wills. And I think they become too optimistic about the guys they've picked in the draft. And they say, hey, we really think he's going to be able to turn it up. When in reality, people just don't change in terms of their attitude. And the attitude is the most important thing in terms of the effort that they give on the field. That's what I'm referring to there. You can't really teach that. And Wills has never showed that effort. He's never showed the grit or the toughness that it takes to succeed long term. But besides that, in terms of my criticisms, like, let's look at the positives of the guys they brought in, like JOK, Anthony Walker. Those are high character winning guys who uplift their team. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome. Look at David Njoku. Everyone's wanted to dunk on Njoku, saying he's overhyped, he's this, he's that. The truth is, the guy, sure, he drops some easy balls sometimes, but he doesn't get enough targets. And look at what he played through. Like, we've all seen the picture now of his burns. That dude balled out. Led the team in receiving after having his face flamed off. And I was making some jokes saying he was putting frozen French fries in hot oil, but I feel bad now after seeing how bad those burns were. Kudos to him and to the coaching staff to keep those high character guys around. And you can't compare Njoku playing with burns on his face and his arm to Watson not playing because his throwing shoulder's injured. So just don't even make those sloppy straw man arguments, because they're not valid whatsoever. Let's keep a strong, healthy perspective of where we're at, and let's save our snap reactions and judgments until week 10. That is what I ask of the optimistic Cleveland fan club here. So I know this is a quick one, again, a lot more freestyled than previous videos, but we'll be returning to the big deal after next week and talk more on an analytical level. I know I mentioned last week that I was going to put out an all 22 kind of film review of the passing game, but instead I wound up working on a Puka Nacua video talking about what has made him so successful in the early part of his career, and that's going to be going up soon, so please check that out. And when that video comes out, I'll also be launching the Patreon as well, and that's going to include uncut all 22 film analysis of guys like Puka Nacua. So I'm going to be starting doing a show called The Rec Room, where we're going to go through and see like what are the best receivers, like the best receiver performances of the week, and seeing how these guys are succeeding. So I want to highlight those individual guys because I played receiver in university. I had a really fantastic receivers coach who played in the CFL for a long time and in the NFL for a little bit as well. And during that time, I just got a bunch of knowledge, and I've taken that and started coaching receivers for 18 and under team here in Toronto, where I'm living right now with my wife. And those are just some things that I want to share that are educational and entertaining, to just be able to take that if you're a young receiver and implement some of those lessons, some of those moves, releases, techniques, and just understanding route combinations. You'll be able to take those and implement them into your own game, even if you're just a weekend warrior playing touch football or flag football or something. I think you'll be able to find something useful in that. So keep on the lookout for that. And again, as I said, when I launch that, I'm also going to put out the Patreon, where I'm going to have the uncut versions that are going to be, 40 minutes sometimes where we're diving deep and analyzing what is making certain receivers great. Or, maybe in the case of Elijah Moore, people are saying, hey, we need to get our return on investment on Elijah Moore. If you watch the All-22 film, this dude is open. Sure, he's had some bad ball carrying moments, a fumble and the worst jet sweep we've ever seen in NFL history, but this guy is a great route runner and he's getting so much separation. He's just got to be fed the ball more and used in some better ways maybe, but keep on the lookout for videos like that. And again, I appreciate you guys so much for supporting. Please like, comment, share with someone and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Get ready for a solid game, a solid test, and don't buy into the panic, okay?